Welcome everyone. This is going to be the long ass session, right? You guys requested, we're going to deliver. So this is going to be just pure alts, okay? We're gonna brush up on Bitcoin first, to be honest, because it needs to be said that the context matters when it comes to the market. So look, BTC, right? It's one of those interesting spots. Don't worry about the shorts, the swings at the moment. But look, most people would start accounting this as a breakout, right? This is range highs. This was range low. We got a deviation here. Confirmed that this was the breakout here. Now, could this be the retest? Who knows? I still think just from reading from like just the macro view in general, right? I would not agree that, we're actually in the bottoming process. If anything, probably see like one more squeeze lower, probably towards here, retest range lows. If that happens, happy days. But I just need to get that context out of the way. So let's just look at total 3 right now. So this is just market cap from everything excluding BTC and ETH. So let's look, we are hanging right now. Look at the monthly. Wouldn't you agree that if Bitcoin is really toppy right now, it is going to go lower? Wouldn't you agree that we at least swipe these lows again? Probably go towards here. If we're going towards here, we should at least start DCAing or whatever. We need to see start of a pivotal area around here, see if we can actually start bouncing. If you start doing something like this, that's okay too. But I need to see the start of an accumulation phase, okay? Accumulation phase starts, we nuke a level. So let's say this is the level here. We start trading below it. And we just keep ranging for like, let's say 3, 4, 5, 6 months. That's accumulation. And afterwards, confirmation comes when we reclaim that level. And this is what we're going to see for the alts today. So I have a long list for you guys. So again, grab some water, chime in, sit down. We're going to be a long ass session. So the first alt we have today is DMTR. But I'll be honest with you guys, most of these alts I've never heard of. But it's good to actually explore everything, right? So let's see. Monthly on this looks trash at the moment. I'll be honest, it looks trash. But this is probably the same thing we've been looking for, right? An accumulation phase. Look at this low here. Low has been tapped. We've consolidated, accumulation here. And afterwards, this is supposed to be the retest now. But the thing is, if our bias from Bitcoin and just alts in general, right, is that we can start bleeding lower, I would not be surprised if we get another squeeze lower. See how this is being held as support right now? How's the support? We got clean lows here, so we got liquidity here. And we're looking to buy up that liquidity. So that I would look for, if anything, is something like this into this area here. If you can get like a fat squeeze, right? Let's say if Bitcoin nukes right now, right? If the entire Binance situation going on, whatever, it doesn't matter what the KATA list is. It just needs to nuke from here if we're going to be valid on the idea. So if you can clear these lows here, start nuking from here and do something like this, and I can start accumulating like we said, and afterwards confirm back above here, then that should be low in, right? So this is what we're looking for. If you can set spot buys in here, that would be perfect. Confirmation above here, and afterwards this should start sending, and afterwards I think as a higher time frame objective, probably sweep these highs. So far, I think that pretty much covers it. So let's move on to the next one. We have KATA. I think that's a ticker, wait. So Katana Inu. What the fuck are these coins? So look, most of these coins, whatever it is, like dog meme coins, whichever, it doesn't matter. Most of these will run. We've seen SHIB in the past, right? We've seen DOGE in the past. Most of them just send regardless. Look, you have to put yourself into a perspective like you're just entering the market. Let's say we had the last cycle, right? There was enough money to go around. People were aping into the cheapest shit. So when people start seeing, they don't care about market cap or anything in general, right? People start saying, yo, we can get this for lower than a cent. They're going to ape regardless. This should be primarily on our radar right now. Because if you just look at the monthly, to be honest, it looks ass. I'm not going to lie. This should be range low. This was the initial deviation. So this is where we're looking to buy, right? And see this range here. This is range highs, range lows. See how we found resistance here. Once we closed above it, and again, we retested as resistance, closed here, came towards here, deviated, we got the initial pump up. So let's look. It seems like we already have like a fat range built up, right? I'm not saying that, if you want to long here, I would probably wait until this area starts coming around, right? So this area here. It doesn't matter. If it's like 50% from here towards there, it doesn't matter. You're looking to play the long-term game. So when you're looking for spot buys, you're not looking for any leverage trades or anything. To me, that's stupid. I would rather wait for the accumulation phase, right? The same thing we had towards here. I'm looking for it. Maybe nuke again. Even if we come towards below here and we reclaim, then that's where we start getting into it. Of course, you can set buys and forget. But honestly, we're trying to maximize our financial opportunity when it comes to just trading in general, right? So if you can come towards here and start ranging, we start accumulating. Let's say if you want to get better entries, right, you can start using fib levels from here towards there. You're trying to buy at least mid-range, right? At least trying to buy the mid-range. So if you come towards here, start closing, do something like this for the next few months and start accumulating here, then yes, perfectly, we're going higher. But for now, if you start buying from around here, I would use this as a hard stop. Because again, boys, if primarily we're looking at total theory, right, and it still has a fat drop to go when it just comes to alts in general, wouldn't you agree you'd rather be safer instead of actually just bag holding? Because who's to say, right? This is price action developed already, and afterwards we can still nuke and go lower from here. So it's still not safe. But if you don't care about whichever price is at in like 3-6 months, you need to start giving yourself into context, okay? Because look, in the future from now, of course, the market probably will be higher. The probability is higher, right? That markets will probably be higher in like a year or 2 years from now. We gotta still think about Bitcoin cycles, how the halving goes into context with everything. So if you don't care, you're just looking for the investor state of point, we're looking like 6 months to maybe a year and a half. Sure, start buying in here, hard stop there. Just know if you close below here and start rejecting this area as resistance, you're cutting the position. But if you reclaim, then you have a new hard invalidation and you can start accumulating. So let's move on. We have Doge again. So DC, Doge chain. Bro, what is this? We need to have something else with better data, right? Let's look at KuCoin. Yes, sir. This looks better. So look, to me, it's pretty clear right now. This probably is going to go lower. Just from this chart in general. I'm using this as a hypothesis, you know. Again, it all comes back to the context we have had in the past when it comes to the recording, the beginning of the recording of the video, when it comes to Bitcoin and the total market cap of everything in the moment, just total 3. Wouldn't you agree that this area should be your bounce zone, right? This is your accumulation area. This is the range low. You deviate the range low, we sent. Came towards here again. Could this be the same area where we do potentially a double bottom? I'm not so sure, because in the context of in general, right, I would not disagree that this has the potential to go lower. Essentially what I would look for anyways, if let's say we do go lower, let's say this is the high, this is the low, we're going to extend the levels. So let's say 0.25, 0.50. Then you now have no areas to buy. So let's say we're going to buy here. If we sweep this low, this is where I'll look to buy. But again, it's the same thing. I'm going to try and not repeat myself. But look, if you're an investor point of view, right, you can just start DCAing. Of course, you run the risk of being underwater. But in like in a 2-year time or the next top of the cycle, would you really be mad of this area where you can probably, like, let's say you buy from here, right? Would you be mad at like, let's say 4x, bro? I would not be mad, right? I would not be mad. So let's keep it pushing. Next on the list, we have SHIB. Don't worry, boys. We're gonna get into all the other. We're gonna get into the other alts as well. We're just going through the entire list that people have requested from. So it's in no order specifically, okay? It's all from the low tiers, the mid tiers, the high tiers. Everything is included in here. So I have a fresh chart here. Let's remove everything. To me, this should be an interesting area. Look, amazing initial reaction from here, right? But we still have a lot of liquidity here. So if anything, I'm trying to buy those stops, right? Because if people are putting stops below there, then yes, I am going to be a buyer of their stops. Same thing we're going to use. Lows to here's. So from here to there. A little range built out, extended in ranges. Now we have more levels to buy. So let's say, right, to put it into context, if this is a range, if we extend to that range, this now becomes range highs or range lows in this essence. And afterwards, this becomes the extended mid-range, right? Extended mid-range normally gets tapped a lot because, look, When it comes to range highs, range lows, pivotal area starts when it comes to mid-range. If you close above mid-range, we can see from here, we're finding it as a pivotal area. We're finding it reactionary, right? Here we've seen resistance, support, we battled over it, afterwards we closed above it, nuked below it, retested as resistance. It doesn't matter if you did close higher, if we did push higher in the weekly candle, but all that matters is the close, right? We retested higher, but look, the weekly close still closed below. So we're going to use the same parameters to adjust and might buy towards here. So if these are the lows here, I would start probably DCAing if you can close below there, right? Already seen this happen before. So let's say we do something like here. This is the accumulation now. And afterwards, as soon as we reclaim this area here, then that should be low in. So this is the area we're going to look to buy in, boys. This is the area here. So, bro, we have a wild one. We have a wild one. Bro, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I can't believe it. But some people actually believe this is going to come back. So let's, let's get it in. Luna Classic. Oh my days. Bro, this is just going to go to zero, but for the sake of it, people requested, I'm going to deliver. Lows are swept here. Let's keep it simple. Same criteria. If you want to buy it, I'm not saying I'm going to take last time on this. If you want to buy it, sure. Probably since next cycle, people are going to see, yo, on face value, that shit's cheap as fuck, right? And afterwards, you can probably buy it towards here. This area here, extended mid-range. But if you start closing below here and holding and start closing below here again, then you have to cut the position. But for now, I think probability-wise, this is going to go lower and probably a lot deeper than most expect. But this is the only TI you can have at the moment. When it comes to price discovery, I'd rather use extended mid-range. And afterwards, if we lose mid-range, then we have to revisit. So far, so good. Let's move on to DYDX. Again, we're going in no particular order, boys. Just bear with me, it's going to be a long video. Okay? Is this the chart with the most data? Or do I have to go on DEX screener? Let's just load up DEX screener for now so you can actually use it. So, for now anyways, from this chart, or we can just wait just a moment. Let me take a sip of water real quick too. So just to reiterate, right? We have DYDX, we have Blur, AKT, Sol, AVAX, APE, ARB, RNDR, PEPE, GMX, OP, FTN, Mask, MATIC, and a lot more. So let's see. I'm pretty sure on chain we have more data, so this is why I'm taking a little detour right now. So let's see. Damn, this shit's taking so fucking long to load. Yo. Alright, let's look at the weekly. Bro, it literally stays the same, right? But at least we can still revisit it anyways. Look. These are the lows that are still waiting to get tapped. These are the highs that are containing price, right? See, every time we found resistance here, resistance. So this is a range right now. I would not be surprised if we do something like this. So let's invert our levels real quick. I would not be surprised if we do another deviation below here. If so, we're buying. But this to me starts looking like accumulation. I'm saying in the sense that, you know, we've been ranging for quite a while. We broke down back inside the range. So normally you need to start seeing buyers stepping in. But the thing is, when it just comes to the macro situation of BTC at the moment, this is not looking like a buy at the moment, right? So I would rather wait to see probably even below $1, you should be able to scoop. The lower the better, but we still have this initial low here. If anything that closes below here should be a buy. And afterwards, for your confirmation in general, right? You would look for this low to confirm the low is in. Anything that trades below here, afterwards above here, above this area here, or SR level, whichever you want to use, starts becoming the deviation below here, right? So below here is deviation confirmed. On top of here, you start looking for longs again, whenever when it comes to perpetual futures or whatever. But I'm looking to scoop this below here, okay? That's what I'm looking for. Let's look to Blur right now. Bro, to be honest, isn't Blur like hella inflationary? So it should be, it should be ass, right? Alright, let's get it. Let's look at the daily. Let's look at the weekly. Yeah. Bro, exposed. Look at my shorts. Alright. So look, same criteria we're going to use. Lows to these highs. Look, PA works. PA works from towards here. Now we're going to extend it again. And now, let's say, right, if this is extended mid-range here, and it's holding right now, right? See how we tapped perfectly? Now we're waiting to see if you can start closing below here. If you close below mid-range, then you have these two fat levels to start accumulating from here. I still think we do see something from this period here. Doesn't matter. Normally it's like 2-3 months, so you have 2-3 months to probably get a job, do something, put your money into it. So if you have these 2-3 months to start accumulating, you would probably wait until extended mid-range is reclaimed, and then you start pushing it higher. So let's move on to AKT. AKT, I don't even know how to pronounce that shit, the ticker. Akash Network, I bet. So look, to me, this doesn't look half bad, to be honest. This doesn't look half bad. Doesn't look half bad. So we can all agree, right? Range highs here. I'm going to explain to you why as well. Range highs. Range lows here. Now let's explain. So, price has been ranging in between these two levels, right? See how price has been ranging. And every time we close or found resistances, these areas, we revisited the other end of the range. So if we revisit range lows, we can probably expect that we're going to revisit range highs. See how we deviated here, now we're closing back inside. So just from a range perspective, right? Wouldn't you agree if we're closing back inside of range highs, probability wise is we're probably going back to range lows. So let's extrapolate our range real quick. Let's remove the extended range levels. And afterwards, now we have our range, right? So look how mid-range has been pivotal here. Found resistance, we flipped it, found support, flipped here, resistance, found support here. So look, that's what we're going to look for. If this comes below, again, so this confirms on the weekly, right? We close back inside. Probability-wise is we're going to revisit mid-range. If so, we're going to start looking if we can start accumulating at range lows, right? See how every time we came to range lows, we deviated it, went back to range highs. So if you can start accumulating probably from here, right? Again, it's all into how much of a risk appetite you can have, but I'm going to try and get the maximum gains. Maximizing my gains is accumulating at the lowest point possible. Again, you can start accumulating from here if you don't care. If you are heavy and underwater, that's okay too. But if you're happy to hold your bags, good job, my friends. But I'm going to start accumulating if you can probably break mid-range. I'm probably going to short this, I'm not going to lie to you boys, if we close weekly below here or daily for confirmation. But for now, anyways, I would look for mid-range as first initial reaction. So let's say if mid-range starts holding, that's okay. We probably see something like this, and afterwards break down, accumulation, and afterwards something like this again, and starts going higher. So this is where my area is for longs, okay? Or just spot in general. If anything, I'll have to re-look and everything. If we start getting like bounces from mid-range, then that's okay too. We're going to take it step by step. So let's look at the high tiers, boys. Let's look at Sol. So I posted this chart on Twitter, right? Like, look, my risk appetite, I don't mind being underwater for consecutive months or periods or weeks, whichever, right? My timeline probably is different towards yours. But if your risk appetite can't hold that's okay too. Look, this idea ranges from this being the accumulation area, right? Yeah, we faked out here. We reclaimed, sent higher. So if this is the initial level where we've seen the initial reaction from, this should now start being your perspective area to purchase, right? This chart, don't worry about the setup. This entire area is where I'm looking to accumulate. Okay? If we can confirm above here, low should be in on a monthly. But then afterwards, you start having to look at BTC and what ETH is doing as well, and what Tool 3 is doing. But for now, I think probably we're going to revisit 10 USD or lower. And that's okay. Because look, in this area here, we have a clean level. I'm not even surprised if you even come here towards here and deviate to this area. So I would even accept something like this. Something like this. And afterwards, we reclaim, we send higher. But to me, I started putting my money where my mouth is. I posted this on Twitter. I'm inside at 1435. So if you can go lower, happy days. I feel like this is still going to outperform most of the market anyways. I don't think it's going to all-time highs. If it does, happy days. But I still think like maybe 5x or like 10x is not out of the realm of possibilities around here. Okay? So if anything, I would look for the general sentiment of the market to be the same. So let's say we trend down or trend lower, we should probably still see lower prices when it comes to this. The lower it gets, the better it becomes for me because I will be accumulating this. Lower, the better, okay? So let's move on to AVAX. Like I said, boys, we're not even 1/3 away, so please strap in. So I said spot buys here. I posted this on Twitter. Spot here. I bought some spot here, but it would not surprise me if you revisit these areas too. Okay? This is the initial area that we deviated from. Not deviated, but we ranged it from. After ranging for a couple of weeks, months, we saw the expansion. So initially, you would see this as demand area, right? You would look at this area for people to step in. So what I'm looking for, sure, I'm already in a few size. If it closes below here, I will take a small L and wait for something like this to come towards here. Let's say if we get an Omega nuke, right? We look from here. Let's say, I don't know, bro, Satoshi comes and removes all his coins from his wallet, sending us to the dark ages. We're now in dinosaur periods. Now we're wiped out. Bro, if this comes towards here, I'm going to buy, okay? Doesn't matter. But look, I have my risk criteria. I have my risk appetite. If I'm not ready to take my risk, then I would not purchase, right? Look, I still think probability-wise is that these lows will get swept. They probably will. But if you start closing below here and finding that there's resistance, right? So let's say you close, get this set up for a short trigger, probably I can even hedge my losses. Then that's okay too. And afterwards, I would look this area here to start accumulating. And afterwards, if you confirm above here, happy days. And this should be low confirmed. But spot here, sure. This is where I'm looking to cut as well. So, to me, lower the better, right? In the end, it's lower the better. So if you come towards here, I'm buying. I don't mind if it goes towards here. Let's say if we do deviate this area, start trading below here, and if there's a range developing, then probability-wise, I'll be a buyer there too. But still looking at BTC and everything in general, everything looks shit, and my bias is still that we are going lower. But I don't mind. Like I said, my risk appetite might be different than yours. So let's move on, boys. Let's move on to APE. I'm pretty sure we have more data on chain. Let's see. Yo, this is below 1 bill? Let's be honest, this shit is inflationary in general, right? So it wouldn't surprise me. So let's get it. 8. Alright, let's get it. So, same thing here. We're going to use our extended range levels, right? From here towards there. See how we have our respected range built out. We have broken out, okay? So now we're going to start using the extended range levels. And it would not surprise me if we start going towards here. Look, where is your next area of support, right? It's into price discovery right now. If there is any bounces, I would use this area to short, right? Let's say we do something like this. Starts going below here. This is your short trigger. We retested range lows as resistance. Now we're going to go lower. This is the area where I'll look to buy. If you start, let's say, right, at the extended level here, if you come towards here and reject, then probability-wise is we're going to go below $1. And if so, then probability-wise as well is we're going to revisit mid-range. Because same thing from here, right? Towards here. Look how many times we revisited mid-range. And the thing is, I'm looking for something like this when it comes towards here again, right? Same thing here. And if it does, we've seen from mid-range to range lows. So with extended range levels, this is now range highs, right? Because this is now range highs. Range lows is probably something below here. And afterwards, we're looking for extended mid-range. So here, if you come towards there's happy days. But for now, probability-wise is, to me anyways, we're probably going to get a squeeze. And if we do, I'll look to short. If we don't hold this level here, probably looking for something like this to purchase. So if this is the first phase, right? This is the first. This is the second. This probably is the third. And afterwards, we start seeing something like this. So far, so good, boys. Let's move on to Arbitrum. So this is going to be probably one of those areas where I would want to scoop in as much as possible. I sold my airdrop around here at like 1.5s. And most people really thought it was going to go higher, right? But again, market perspectives, everything in general, this tends to fade and sway. So you just have to adapt. You have to be like water, okay? You have to be like water, my friend. Look, extended mid-range, I've been using this most of the time, all the time. So look, could this be the deviation forming below here? I don't think so, because if we're looking for Bitcoin and ETH and everything to go lower, right? And we've seen just the perspective of total 3 in general at the beginning of the video, it would surprise me, honestly, if we deviate from here. It's not out of the realm of possibilities if we start going above here. But I still think that I will probably put like 50% here. But not even 50, let's say I have $100, that's it. And hypotheses for now. Let's say I have $100, I would use 33% here. 33% here. And afterwards, anything that comes below there, happy days to accumulate more. But I still think these areas are where we're looking forward to buy. Just using the extended range levels, right? From range highs to range lows. Towards here, towards there. That's where I find my levels, boys. So, let's move on. And I still think this is going to run, okay? I still think this is going to run. So let's move on to RNDR. I still think most of dinosaur coins, I'm saying dinosaur in general, right? When it comes to like coins from last cycle, they probably won't hit all-time highs again versus ETH or like let's say versus BTC. Or maybe the USDT pairs still hit. But that's not to say that we can't profit off of them, right? Boys, I would rather take like a 10x or like a 15x and sell my bag for like half and just leave the remaining running. And as soon as Bitcoin looks to top, bro, we still have enough areas to still either hedge or close. We're still making profit regardless. You have to put yourself in the perspective that 2 years from now, the market will be drastically changed, okay? So you're going to have to start picking up which coins are probably going to survive. Probably, maybe, even half of the coins that I'm recording right now might not survive. But that does not mean we can still play them for a bounce, okay? So RNDR. Accumulation range here, right? See, I've accumulated here. We have months. So this is the primary area where we're looking to scoop, right? Let's move this real quick. Could this be area here? I don't think so. I feel like I'm going to explain why as well. If this pumped right into daily supply, weekly supply, the first deviation, check. Quoted from here, close from here. Now we're below this interesting area here, right? Range highs here, range lows here. Most of the trading has been done towards here. But we also have a new range built out here, right? This is the pivotal area here that's been holding the market ever since because we've broken below it, found resistance, broke back above it, found support, broke back below it, resistance. So this is the pivotal area. So what we're looking for is anything that comes towards here is a buy, okay? Anything that comes towards there is a buy. And I'll be looking to scoop up. This is why I think most of the time when you're just looking at the perspective that you can earn a lot of money, right? People like money, especially when people think like, bro, people were making hella when it comes to PEPE, right? Why can't you diversify your portfolio into high tier coins that reduces your risk of being robbed or being whatever, right? and they would have the probability of actually being here the next cycle, so you can probably play your bags again. I think this is one of them. This looks a little bottomy, but I would not be surprised if this level breaks, because if this level breaks, we're opening the floodgates towards here, right? This now becomes a new SR levels, and afterwards we break below here. You have this low here, this low here, excuse me, this low here. Probably do something like this, start accumulating. As soon as you reclaim towards here, that's your area to start longing on perps. So far so good, boys. Let's get it. I was just shitting on it and it's next on the list. You hate to see it. Alright, so let's look at PEPE. Hopefully a fresh chart. Now we have more data on chain. This is I'm 100% certain of. Most of these meme coins, boys, I'm gonna be honest with you, most of them are not coming back. I think PEPE might be the outlier because again, it's PEPE, right? Let's see. Let's look at the daily. Alright, bet, boys. Look, we're approaching one of these areas here, right? This area here. Let me put the magnet on. So this area here, right? See how this is a pivotal last area? So as soon as this goes, you start trading below it here. That's your area for a short trigger. And afterwards, I would probably start looking to accumulate in this area here. If so, then this area right here is where I'll look to scoop. If it goes lower, then I'm sorry, this is going to zero, boys. But look, probably, if probability is quite high, honestly, if we start breaking down and everything starts lining up, especially with BTC and ETH, probability-wise, this will probably trigger as well, right? So afterwards, this is our area. This is the initial base. We've seen on AVAX too, right, in the beginning. If AVAX is almost the same PA and it bounced off the same here, we're looking to accumulate the same thing. So look how some alts already are lining up, right? Regardless of the timeline. So if it comes towards here, we're looking to purchase around here. And afterwards, we see bullish accumulation. So let's say, even if we deviate lower, I want to see a clean reclaim immediately. Else, if we start breaking below here, then I'm sorry, boys, it is over. It is over. So this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. If it does close below here, I would probably look for a shorts too. Let's get it. So we have GMX. That's some perp taxes, bro. Let's get it. Bro, I honestly like GMX, especially since most of everything is looking to blow up, right? Let's remove everything here. Alright, let's get it. This area here accounted for a lot of pivotal moments, right? Found resistance here, deviated below it, retested as soon as reclaimed as support. Now we broke below it. Now could this area be resistance again? Probably is, right? So we're gonna map out this area here. See how this area got swept, reclaimed, and started moving higher. So this can be attested as range lows. Range lows. As soon as you reclaimed, we retested range highs. This is range highs. So what I'm looking for now is we're gonna move this from here. Bro, people say TA doesn't work, right? Look at it, where extended mid-range came towards there. So we're gonna remove this for now. So we're just gonna use this for now, okay? We're looking to either buy anything that comes below mid-range. So anything below mid-range probably does something like this. Even if it squeezes below, I want to see a reclaim immediately. Else this low is getting swept. And if the low is swept, I'll look for a range to build out below here. So I already have two plans lined up, right? It's either going to be initial range lows tap, or either we're going to sweep this low if we actually giga nuke, which again, it can happen. Don't say it can never happen. Anything can happen in crypto. So as soon as you start giga nuking anything that starts trading below it, I would look for accumulation range. So let's say a high to low, something like this, highs to low. And afterwards, anything that comes below the mid range of this respective range here, I would look to accumulate. And afterwards, as soon as you reclaim this, probability of the idea that being the low in becomes higher. Even the probability of this becoming higher increases if you can reclaim this. So far, so good. I think we just crossed 40%, boys. I need to take a sip of water, to be honest. My throat is shot. Alright, so we have optimism. Boys, the range speaks for itself, right? The range speaks for itself. Look at these lows here. I would be surprised if you don't get something like this. Go higher. Let's review the yearly as well. Look at the yearly open. Now let's go back to the daily. Yearly open got tapped. It would not surprise me at all, if you get a deviation below yearly open. So let's say something like this, and afterwards even something like this, get something like this. So look, this is a pivotal area right here, right? This is the swing low. Afterwards it got swept, went higher. So if you can come visit below here, I would look this area here to start accumulating. So anything that comes at like 0.4 or 3 cents, we are buying, boys. We are buying. So if we come towards like 30 cents, 40 cents, that's okay. And afterwards, we're looking for something like this. Almost all of the charts that I've been reviewing, right? They have this area here where we have swing lows that are ripe to be swept. Afterwards, we have extreme areas here. We're going to use this area here to accumulate. Afterwards, we have the retest here. If we reclaim, we are bullish on longing on perps. Okay? I still think this probably runs. I'm going to probably diversify my portfolio personally into like L1s, L2s. I'm going to farm on chain. I'm going to make the money work for me, right? And afterwards, going to just use that profit and recycle, start doing into perps. And afterwards, you know, that's the game plan at the moment. Anyways, it can still change, but that's what I'm looking for. Let's move on to FTM. If you guys are still watching on the recording, whenever be on YouTube or Discord, you guys are fucking soldiers, okay? Oof. This looks like a fat area, right? So almost the same thing as AVAX, right? We're going to highlight it. We're going to talk about it. Posted this on Twitter. I got spot orders in here. I am happy to be wrong. Where am I wrong? If you close below here and hold as resistance. If you close below there and hold as resistance, then afterwards, boom. This is the area where I have to close my longs, right? My spot longs. And afterwards, probability of weak becoming towards here is higher. Because we have this an entire inefficiency here. But we have this area here. And afterwards, this will be my short trigger, right? I can even short it. I can literally make my money back that I lost from these spot orders here. Afterwards, this area here now becomes the area where I'm looking for accumulation. Almost the same thing that happened towards here, right? We visit the base, almost the same thing as AVAX. And afterwards, we accumulate towards here. We break out above here. Then we are going towards here and finding resistance here. I'm probably going to play this on perps. So if you can get this close above here, let's say 4 or 5 months from now, whichever. I don't, bro, I'm not Nostradamus, okay? I can't predict the market. I can only react. But I can only plan for it too. So afterwards, this is what I'm probably looking for. If the spot orders get filled, happy days. If we close below there, happy days as well. I have my short trigger. I'm not panicking. I can always close for a small L. And afterwards, boom. We can still have this play to play with. Towards here, afterwards, higher. So let's move on to mask. Excuse me. That's my throat crying for help. Alright, so what are we dealing with here? I have some shorts there. We're just going to remove this right now, okay? Remove this here. Boom, now we have our little area built out. Look, this swing low here has been reclaimed, right? It has been reclaimed. From here, we retested as support, went higher. Could this be the possibility that we do something like this again? Accumulate, and afterwards goes higher. Regardless, I'm either going to wait for this area here to start buying, so spot buy here. But if we close below here and reclaim, then yes, this is my order as well. So we have two swing plays, right? Regardless, everything depends on what BTC and ETH does. I'm not going to just say, yo boys, I'm gonna long here and say fuck it, right? Because if I long here, my hardened validation is probably here. This low here. But this low also can be swept. And it doesn't mean that a wick can't go as deep and come towards here. So you have to be on the side that you have to be like water, basically. You have to know what you're up to. And always need to keep your risk in check. Else you're fucked. So let's move on to MATIC, the public's favorite. Bro, I even shorted this from 1.5, but the same thing. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what I think. This will probably still, for the normies anyways, still probably do numbers, okay? This probably will still do numbers. So let the layout to play for itself. So, I mean, the chart is basically almost the same, right? We're now consolidating at the range lows, or swing lows in general. Then we remove this. And afterwards, if we close below here, I think we're going to do something like this. Probably, let's say, if you start accumulating from here, normally what it does, it almost always fakes you out, right? So let's say if this is the low here, normally, usually, always deviates below it. So let's highlight that as well. Normally, it usually deviates below it. And afterwards, on the reclaim, that's your area for a trigger. Even when it comes to perps. And afterwards, you play it higher. But I would not be surprised if we come and clean this inefficiency up. If so, I would not be surprised if we come towards here, regardless of what you think, regardless of what your sentiments are. You gotta plan it out, okay? Anything can happen. No one thought that Luna is going to crash. People thought it was too big, right? But look what happened. Same thing here, boys. It can always happen. It doesn't mean that this is going to die, but you still have to be prepared for any and all scenarios. Okay? So let's move on to the newer, shinier shit. Move on to Aptos. To be honest, I spoke about this in the previous thing, right? Bro, I'll be honest, like, this only went higher. This probably might be a hot take. This only went higher because December marked the low, intraday low anyways, like the local bottom, you can say hypothetically, hypotheses, marked the local bottom, right, when it comes to BTC. So this was released literally quite on time. Because of that, people are going to be like, yo, this is so cheap, you know, I'm going to start buying this shit. And they did. We're looking at the same area again. I have some spot orders here, but I'm looking to probably build more shorts lower, right? So let's remove these levels here. And where does this line up? Extended area here. So from here, we're probably going to look for something in here. If we close below here, then I'll have to reassess. But for now, I would probably still hold my spot positions in here. And always, remember boys, it can always still go lower regardless of as much TA as I do. If anything, it can still go lower. Let's say we do something like this. And close below here, I'll have to cut my positions. But if we deviate this low here and start doing something like this and reclaiming it, then yes, I'll still be in. I still think probably this is going to go lower from here from my spot orders. But again, I'm okay with my risk appetite. If you are not, do not take the same trade as I do. Let's move on to SUI. Alright, so I posted the same chart on Twitter. Excuse me, I take a sip of water real quick. I posted the same chart on Twitter, right? Desmond, if you're watching this, I shared the chart with you if I'm not mistaken. How did I get these levels? Here, I think it was from the weekly. Here towards here. Start extending your range levels, and you start finding the same levels. So look, a little base forming right here, right? But the thing is, if you start looking at it from just, let's just put this on its own merit, right? On its own merit. Wouldn't you agree? We have accumulated from here. We're looking to bounce up from now. If we get a squeeze up, this should mark probably the local bottom. I scooped up some from here. If we do something like this, probably do something like this, and afterwards go higher. some of these coins will still go lower. I'm not saying this would not. But the thing is, if we extend these levels here again, so let's say from here towards there, then we can start thinking, okay, we have a new range here now, right? It's a new range built out now. So we can still go from here, do something like this, and afterwards start reclaiming back. But for now, I'm already in a bit. And again, boys, the lower, the better. Okay, the lower, the better. But I would not be surprised if you come towards here, sweep these lows, and reclaim, and that's your long trigger too. But let's say we close below here and retest as resistance, and we get to the trigger. And afterwards, yes, I will have to close out my position. So let's move on to Adam, Cosmos. Alright, boys, we're like 75% there, okay? Hold on strong, boys, hold on strong. Alright, I still have these, still have this from previous cycle, so let's move on to the yearly. How's the yearly doing? So, the first area of interest is here. This is 2019 highs. This is 2019 lows. I'll mark those out because if you zoom out, this starts developing 2019 as a range, right? From range highs to range lows, we have a fat area here where you start accumulating. But it's still very, very fat, right? So from $7 to $1, I mean, that's still fat. So we're gonna start going from here towards there. Remove the extended ones. And now you have a mid-range to play with, right? You have this mid-range already held here, but we're going to look for lower, okay? If you can close below here, or even here, let's say we do something like this, start accumulating from here. This is my trigger here. This low here is my area where I'll look for a long. But if we start closing below there, then afterwards I'll start probably looking to accumulate at $1 to $3. It probably, I'm not saying it can't, but you still, like I said, you have to plan for everything, okay? You have to plan for everything. So if you come towards here, I'll look at this area for a long, or just spot orders in general. I would probably look at this area here, below the swing low, appropriately towards here. And afterwards, how I would look for perps? Above here. This area here. If you can even reclaim this area here, I would look for longs above here as well. So far, so good, boys. Alright. It's a crowd favorite, boys. We're going into BNB. We're going into BNB. So at the time of writing, right? Or the time of recording, Binance, it is currently on Monday, the 12th of June. If I'm not mistaken, they have until today to start talking about, or actually, wait, I'm going to sneeze, wait. Fuck, it didn't come. So if I'm mistaken, they have been indicted, right? So with that indictment, they have until today to respond. So even they'll have until today to respond, then yes, we're gonna see some volatility when it comes towards here. They're facing litigation. CC has been called up to come and testify. So look, from here, I'll be honest, on chain it's not looking good. There's 200 million collateralized longs at the moment on BNB chain, and their liquidation price is 212, if I'm not mistaken. So here, if they get liquidated, that will release a lot of funds to the open market, right? And it comes just, it starts becoming supply and demand. And if there's not demand, the supply will keep going lower, price will keep going lower. So let's talk about it. If I think below here, you've seen support here, deviation, close below here, reclaimed. This was your area for a long, reclaimed again. So this is giga support. If we nuke below here and start retesting as resistance, then this becomes giga resistance. And afterwards, I'm already short, by the way, I'm already short from here, from 264. So if you can close below here, I would look for this area for continuation, right? And afterwards, I think this entire inefficiency gets filled. And the next area for support comes right here. Right here. This area here was the highs. It came and saw a pivotal price action, right? See how we closed above it here? So let me zoom in a bit. It's on the weekly. As soon as we flipped it, we retested it as support and sent. So who says we can't come towards here again and retest, even dip below it? If it comes, it's a generational buy, regardless of what you think. Regardless of what you think or what they're going through. And if they blow up, they blow up. What do you want me to do? I'm not going to cry about it. The only thing I am capable of is managing my risk, right? So I'm not going to go cry about it. If it happens, it happens. You played your cards. You did your TA, your everything. You did your due diligence. And afterwards, if you're wrong, you're just going to take it on the chest and move on. So, that's what I'm looking for. So let's move on to Doge. Bro, I swear, every time, almost every time the cycle starts or ends with Doge. I remember when people said Doge is going to go to $1. Bro, happy times, huh? So look, past me, well, future me, so now present me is thanking myself for the past for building out this entire range already. So, let's talk about it. So look, range highs here, range highs, range lows. See how we're looking to come into range lows? And we have this entire inefficiency here, right? Who's to say that we can't come towards here? Or, if we do something like this, right? Close below here, retest as resistance, the next notional area is here. But if we do something like this and deviate and reclaim, we have a hard stop to play with and we can start accumulating back inside of the range. It all depends on what BTC and ETH is going to do. They are leading indicators, right? I'm just looking at the USDT values, but I'm not going to go into versus ETH versus BTC pairs. So this is what I'm looking for. It's either going to come towards here, this area here, and we're going to accumulate the fuck out of it and dump on the normies, or we start nuking from here. And again, this is 1 cent. This is like 1 cent, right? I'm not saying it can't, but we have inefficiency here. But if not, we can always wait for this, right? So let's say if we don't get that, we can wait for below here to start accumulating. So let's say this builds out the range below here. You can play the range and accumulate. And as soon as we close back above here, then that should be low in. But we're going to be prepared for the doomsday scenario as well, okay? So take it with a little bit of salt. Let's get it. We're getting there. We're getting there. Let's move on to Rose real quick. Alright, let's look at Rose. I think this is Rose, or we have Oasis Network. I'm gonna review both. So this is pretty much at where the move started, right? I'll highlight this. Below this central area here, this is low. Deviation, this accumulation. As soon as we reclaim the retested as support, now we're back below it. So I'm gonna put this area here as well. I think personally, anything that comes into this area here is a potential buy. This area here should start being as a magnet at the moment. We have this here, we deviated below it, so that's highlighted as well. So this area here, deviated below it. Could this be one of those things where we start going towards here again? And afterwards, as soon as you reclaim, then that should mark low in. Then you have a hard stop as well. But this is the area where I'll start probably desynching into it. Let's move on to Rose again, but I think it's Oasis Network, right? Let's see. Nope. Is this it? I think so. It's the same thing. Never mind. It's the same thing. So let's move on. Let's move on to LUNC. Where's my homies, the LUNC Marines? Bro, they're down bad, I'll be honest. They're down bad. Bro, people say this was the fat accumulation range, right? Bro, where are they at right now? Look, bro, like I still have these charts laid out from past. And to be honest, my ideas have not changed. If we close below this area here, see how we deviated here, found resistance. As soon as we reclaimed, found support and sent. If we close back below here, and I think the next probable area is here. And afterwards, this area is where I'm going to start accumulating from. If not, if I don't get that, I'll look at this area here. So let's say we deviated, trade back above it. This is where I'm looking to long. Excuse me. So let's move on. We got near PYR, SUSHI and XMR, and we are done, boys. So again, if you've been in the entire session, remember, boys, just drop the video like, okay? Literally getting my throat clapped. I think we're almost at like a 1 hour mark as well. So this will get near. So entire ecosystem is dead. So let's compare this with the ecosystem of Aurora and Near in general. I think the entire eco is dead, but it doesn't mean that it's dead, like it's gone, you know? Like closed casket funeral. I don't think yet. Even if the normies are gonna look at this shit and be like, yo, this got released like 2021, probabilities of this going higher are still there. Again, even most of the new dinosaur coins, let's say 2 cycles ago, probably some of them are still going to do numbers. Let's say the blue chip ones like ETH, right? But let's say this Near, even this, if it doesn't go to all-time highs, it can still bounce until at least $10. It's still a 10x for me from current prices, right? So I'm gonna take it. So by now you need to start noticing a pattern, right? See how this area here deviated below it. Afterwards, we reclaimed this area here, sent higher. Now we are trading below it again. So mark out my levels. See how this area here we deviated. And afterwards, where are we going now? Probability wise, as long as we stay below this area here, this level here, I think we're going to come into this area here. And afterwards, if we can start developing a range, we can start buying in here. But if we reclaim above here and hold on the weekly, then I think we're going to start longing towards here. We find resistance here, and a short towards here. First target here, second target here, third target, I don't know, there. But this is the area where I'll start looking for longs. And again, game plan is buy the eco coins, send them to wallets, start hedging myself with farms, and just keep going the same way always. And afterwards, you know, happy days in the end. But again, with everything comes, you need to know your risk appetite. I need to know that this is not, I'm not trading, I'm holding them for the next cycle, so I'm investing. This is just going to be my spot positions. It's not going to be the same as what I'm doing with just, you know, trading perps, what I'm doing with just like other coins, right? Best case scenario, I nail the bottoms, I got spot in, send them to farm, send them to DeFi, do their thing, get yield and everything, and afterwards I'm still longing from Pico bottoms or anything when it comes to perps. Probably gonna pay hella in fees, but again, that's what I'm looking forward into. So let's move on to PYR. Bear with me, boys. We got PYR, we got SUSHI and XMR, and we are done. Bro, PYR looks finished. Holy shit. So, looks pretty clean to me. We have this low here. We have this high here. So we now have a range built out, right? So from this range, wouldn't you agree that this low here deviated, reclaimed, support? Same thing here, deviated, reclaimed, support, deviated. So I would not be surprised. If we do something like this. Fuck me. So from here. So let's say, right? You get a giga nuke from here. Let's say, bro, the same thing. Satoshi came back, opened his wallet, dumped everything, sent us to the dinosaur ages. Now we're finding sticks and stones. So look, if you can deviate below here and develop a range, accumulation range, I will buy inside the range. But for, let's say, if you don't want to back hold, let's say if we deviate from here, let's say it doesn't matter how long this stays below here. As soon as we reclaim this, then now we have a clean low, right? So we have a hardened validation now, and you can long from here. You can start getting into your buys. The thing is I'm waiting for, right? This is sometimes, you know, when you see on my charts, I have like an X or anything, I'm waiting for a hardened validation. That's where if it gets swept or it goes higher and closes above there, I'll look to cut. But the thing is, if let's say it goes below here immediately, right? And I start buying and it keeps going lower and lower. I don't have an invalidation. I'd rather wait for a low to form, and afterwards I can always get into the higher low. And afterwards this I can use as my invalidation. Boom, easy, done. Reduces my risk, so I don't have to sweat, and afterwards I'm still in the trade. So let's get into it on SUSHI. Yo, this looks trash. Bro, this coming to all-time lows, huh? Yo. So same thing we're going to look for. These are the lows at the moment. These are the lows. Look how we deviated it. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to mark out this. Yo, big dubs. Mark out this. And the same thing we're going to look for. If we deviate below here, anything that starts accumulating, so that's building a range. If you can see like a high to low, and we start trading like this, and we see trades going from here to here, we are buying, okay? And as soon as you reclaim here, so let's say it breaks below here, starts accumulating, and starts reclaiming here, that's when we can start even looking for perp longs, okay? And look for this, hard invalidation. Normally, like I said, it normally sweeps you out, right? So this low here, let's say this is range low, this is highs of the new built accumulation range. Normally it does fake out reclaims, and that should be your area as well. So you can take probably this as well, right? So if you close below here, built out a range, we did the deviation, reclaimed, this is now lows, this is now the highs. You can even use this as the hard invalidation. As soon as we retest range lows, we are in. Even played perps, and the probability of the idea playing out becomes higher once we reclaim this. And boom, we start sending. So far so good, boys. Let's move on to the last one. We're then afterwards going to open the floor for questions. Excuse me. Bro, the XMR is not going anywhere, to be honest. And these degenerates are going to use it regardless. Ah, it looks clear, huh? Looks clear. You have this area here. So line it up. You have a little range here. Boom. This is what I'm looking to buy. At this area here. A mid-range. Why? Because look, if this is the area that's been holding the market up, right? We've seen support, deviation, held, whichever you want to see at this point. And afterwards, that same thing, we came towards here, retested, bounced off. Now we have this to play with as well, right? So you have this little uptrend, meme lines, and now we're almost breaking it. If we're breaking it, it's even setting up to even get shorted, right? This low here is holding the market at the moment. If you close below here, that's your area for a short. First take profit, second take profit. As soon as we break into the range, you can even take another short. If we wait for an invalidation, T1, T2. If it comes lower, I don't think this does, but you can never know. You never know. If it comes lower, happy days. If it deviates range lows, we're waiting for this. As soon as it reclaims, that's our long trigger. So far so good, boys. Again, thank you. If you held for so long, we passed on like 20 plus alts, okay? 20 plus alts. It's been a long one. Hopefully, you guys actually learned something, you're better positioned, you see some clarity, and not just running to say buy right now, okay? But again, if you're buying right now, just keep your risk in check, okay? Just know your timeline where you can actually start seeing returns on your investments. Of course, some might outperform more than the others, but that's why you gotta diversify your portfolio, boys. So again, thank you for coming, and thank you for watching the entire thing if you did. I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.